there's a better hype man than that. So thank you so much for being here. It is such an honor to be with so many freedom-loving people in this state. Over the last couple of years, I've had the great opportunity to get to know Mike Parsons. What an incredible governor you have. The thing I like about this governor is he's not trying to get out there and make a name for himself, but he's trying to make Missouri better. He's trying to make this country better, and he's willing to do it and fight every single day. He didn't need this job, but this job most definitely needed him.
Yeah.
As Mike mentioned, I was the former White House press secretary to President Trump. And that was a job I absolutely loved. Even on the most difficult days, I was proud to work alongside the president. I was only the third woman to serve in that position and the very first mom to ever be White House press secretary. I used to often joke that being White House press secretary, people always ask me, how did you prepare to have that job? People thought it was because I had a lifetime in politics. I said, no, it's because I'm a mom. So it's real simple. When I went into the White House, my youngest was 1.5. I have 3 kids. They're 8, 7, and 5. Let that sink in for a minute. 8, 7, and 5. So it was chaos at our house at all times. And I told them it was real simple. Being a mom to preschool age children, I said no a lot. I answered the same question over and over again. And I needed an extreme amount of patience in order to do my day job, much less be the White House press secretary. One of the things I learned growing up in Arkansas and growing up with a father that was in public service was that being engaged in the process made a difference. Getting to see that firsthand as a kid made a big impact on my life. My dad took us with him everywhere. Mike said it was child abuse. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. I got to see my state. I got to meet people from all walks of life, and I got to do it with my dad. There's not much better than that. And I wanted my kids to have that same experience. So when I went and took the job at the White House, we wanted our kids to experience that, to understand why we were serving, why we were making that sacrifice as a family. I learned very quickly that I couldn't take all 3 kids with me and get anything done, so I put them on a rotation system. And I would take one at a time to an event, and usually it was short, an hour, and then they'd go back with their dad or babysitter. But on one particular occasion, there was an all-day event called Bring Your Kid to Work Day. And it was my son Huck's turn. He's my middle child. He was 4 at the time. You name your kid Huck, you sort of set a certain expectation for him in life. And he lived up to it every minute of every day. Remember that patience I was talking about? Huck prepared me for that. So I was nervous about taking him, but I decided we wouldn't have that many opportunities, so I would take Huck with me, and we would spend that day together. And we had an awesome time. He had his little blazer and bow tie. I took about 8 million pictures. I thought we were making memories that would last a lifetime all day long. What I didn't realize is the most memorable part of the day would come at the very end. See, all the kids gather in the Rose Garden at the White House, and the President of the United States comes out and takes a picture with the kids. We decided to do something a little different. We invited the press to bring their kids as well. So I go into the Oval Office and I remind the President, sir, 50% of the kids out there, their parents are reporters, so you might watch what you say. He naturally ignored my advice. But as I'm talking to the president, we notice that the bushes in the Rose Garden start to violently shake. We both think, well, now that's odd. About the time I realize what's happening, this little blonde head jumps up from the bushes, runs full speed directly at the glass of the Oval Office, and pushes his face completely against the glass. I don't know if you've seen a 4-year-old face smashed up against glass, but it is a sight to behold. The president jumps back. Oh my gosh, there's a little boy looking into the Oval Office. I said, yes, sir, that's my son Huck. And he looked at me and said, well, Sarah, at least he's handsome. Not to let that be his only mark on the day, we walk out of that office, the president steps onto that famous colonnade in the Rose Garden, the cameras are going crazy, the kids are all cheering, and here comes that same 4-year-old boy, this time running directly at the President of the United States. president, being the gracious person he is, kind of steps down and crouches, ready to accept Huck into his arms. And right before he got there, and just before Secret Service tackles him, Huck sidesteps the president. This is Donald Trump we're talking about. Ignores the president, goes around him, and runs and jumps into my arms. The president turns around and looks at me like, "Are you kidding this kid again?" But I knew in that moment I hadn't done everything wrong. I hadn't completely messed him up. Because for every kid out there, the President of the United States was the most important person there. But for my 4-year-old son, all he wanted to see was his mom. So I was actually pretty proud of him. I used to always joke with the press corps. They didn't think I was very funny. I just thought they needed a sense of humor. But they would constantly ask me about the chaos going on in the White House. And I would tell them if they wanted to see chaos, they should come to my house. That was nothing. I think I was one of the few people that came to the White House to get a break. But in all seriousness, to me, it's very simple. If we do want to see chaos in the White House, if we want to see chaos in Washington, and if we want to see chaos in state government here in Missouri, it's very simple. We vote for Democrats and we allow the liberal mob to take over our country, take over our communities, and destroy the things that we love. But we're not going to do that. A vote for Nicole Galloway is a vote for chaos. And I know that's not what we want here. We've got to support people like Governor Mike Parsons. It's the reason I'm here today.
Yeah.
We've got to support people like Congresswoman Ann Wagner, because they are the only things standing between the liberal mob and you. If we want to continue down the path of safety and security and law and order and prosperity, we have a choice. Never in our life have we had a more important choice to make in an election. Our very way of life, our country, our values are all on the line. And the country's counting on you to make sure that we deliver. Like I said, I'm a mom. I have 3 kids. And it's why I'm spending every single day leading up to the election making sure we get good people elected. Because if we don't, my kids' future is what's at stake. And I refuse to let that happen. One of the best parts about working in the White House was getting to serve alongside the men and women of our armed forces. They represent the very best of this country. Do we have any veterans out here today? Thank you. Thank you for your service. These are the people that are willing to put everything on the line, sometimes making the ultimate sacrifice so that we get to live free in the greatest country on the face of the planet. We owe it to them to do our part to join them in fighting for freedom. And in the next couple days, we have an opportunity to do that by voting, by making sure everybody we know votes too. I used to say make sure you get all your friends out to vote, but now I don't even care if they're your friends, just make sure you get everybody you know out to vote. One of the moments in that time of working in the White House alongside the men and women of our military on Christmas of December 2018, I had the opportunity to travel with the president on a secret trip to Iraq. We left late at night, took off in complete and total darkness. Just before we touched down in Iraq, we had a security team come over and brief us. And they told us if we heard a certain sound that we needed to take cover because we were under attack. We were only going to be on the ground a couple of hours, but we knew in that moment the seriousness of what we were doing. We were spending one holiday away from our family, and it was difficult. Imagine spending every holiday, every birthday, every moment away from your family. That's what they do. And they do that so that we can be here, so that we can gather at events like this, so that we can live free. We stepped off of that airplane. We went into a dining hall where hundreds of troops had gathered. They thought they were having dinner with senior military leadership. What they didn't know was that President Trump and the First Lady would be coming into that dining hall. And when they did, that room erupted in enthusiasm and cheers unlike anything I've ever heard. They weren't cheering as Democrats or Republicans, rich or poor, black or white. Every demographic you can imagine was represented in that room. But they were cheering because we were Americans, because we are the greatest country. And they were there fighting to make sure we get to keep that and remain the greatest country. As the president made his way working around to each of those tables, thanking those individual troops, one of the young soldiers yelled out from the back, "Mr. President, I re-enlisted in the military because of you." And the president said, "And son, I'm here because of you." What a remarkable moment and sign of how this president appreciates who those men and women are. As they continued making their way around the table, that young man came over to me and he said, "Sarah, you have a tough job." And I'm thinking, are you kidding? I take questions. You take bombs and bullets. I said, "Actually, sir, you have a tough job." And in a moment that I will cherish for the rest of my life, he reached up and tore the patch from his shoulder. And he placed it into my hand. And he said, "Sarah, we're in this together." That is who America is. That is the America that we love. That is the America that we're fighting for. Let's fight to keep it that way. You have a governor that's willing to fight. He's put his name on the ballot so you don't have to. It's not easy to run for office. I know, I've seen it firsthand my whole life. It's hard. It's hard work. But you have somebody that's willing to do it, to make that sacrifice because he believes in his state, he believes in this country, and he's willing to stand up and fight for it. And he needs you to fight with him. We're not all called to be on the battlefield, but we are all called to be part of the battle. I hope that you will join me in making sure that Governor Mike Parsons gets reelected on Tuesday, that President Donald Trump gets reelected on Tuesday, Congresswoman Ann Wagner gets reelected on Tuesday. Thank you so much for letting me be here. Thank you for serving. Thank you for fighting. Let's make sure we go out and we win this thing. Let's keep America great. Thank you so much. God bless you. Please welcome my good friend, your incredible governor, and a leader that we're all going to stand with on Tuesday, Governor Mike Parsons.
He's got the